that was kind of cool. But once again, really nothing Breath of Fire couldn't have done. Panda is a much better choice, and definitely highly recommended, especially against any kind of mass towers, and more so if your opponent is using the workshop units, because they will not be... they're immune to most spells, but they're not immune to the Panda spells. Here's why I picked one of the reasons that I picked the Frostworm. They are surprisingly effective against siege engines, although they don't really do that much damage to them because they have like the wrong armor type for that. They do slow them, and the trick of that is that if you catch your opponent crossing the map, which is very easy to do as long as you just kind of put shades in place. Shades are one of the critical things to defeating this strategy. Shades, so basically I'll go ahead and go over the list of things that I know of that will help you deal with mass tanks. One of those is Frostworms for their slow effect. Another of them is the Naga for her slow effect. Another one is to get the Panda, or a Pit Lord, but Panda's a whole lot better. I really mismicroed that, by the way. I end up taking way too much damage on my Pit Lord. Basically, get one of your heroes. Choose one of your heroes such that they can actually hit mechanical units with their spell. Because you are generally against this strategy, you're going to notice that your hero levels tend to go quite a bit past his, because even though they do a lot of damage, you end up killing all of his tanks, and you generally win most of the fights. The problem is that you lose all your buildings, and it doesn't really matter. However, if you actually have one of those heroes getting powered up in a way that can damage the tanks and make that aspect of the human attack easier to deal with, you'll be a lot better off. So that's why I say really just, get a Panda. I'll keep it simple. Another thing is orb. Make sure, absolutely sure, that you use an orb. I went ahead and put it on my Dark Ranger just because, obviously you're going to want it on something with a ranged attack. So I went ahead and put the orb on my Dark Ranger. And also, I don't think you're not going to get skeletons from killing tanks. I'm fairly sure of that. Feel free to check my facts there, but make sure you get an orb because that's going to help you deal with it. The last thing is kind of like your final line of defense in your base. This is going to consist of your front line in your base needs to be like excess buildings. Like I said, depending on which resources you have available to you, you either want to build sacrificial pits, or build just necropolises. That's going to, basically, whenever he's coming into your base, he's either going to have to kind of corridor in between them, and that will slow him getting to your other buildings, or he's going to have to just sit there and fire away at him. Then, like in the back, you want to have some basically as many Nerubian towers as you can get, because those also, along with the buildings in front, are going to make it take longer for his tanks to get in and damage your crap. And they're also going to give more time for the meat wagons to fire away at them. And then, basically, of course, in the very back, you want to have your meat wagons. Now, you might ask me, what the heck do you do if your opponent... if your opponent starts like getting griffins as well? At that point, you really better either be like expanding all over the place and just have like a formidable army and be taking down his expansions, or he's got you. There are situations that you can very much get into where it's going to take the human player a very long time to kill you, but the game is essentially over. Especially if he's got two more bases than you do, you're screwed. Even if he only built one base, but he got it like very, very early and has spent a whole lot of time banking, you're kind of screwed. The only way that you can really deal with that, a banking opponent behind towers, is to counter expand. You're not going to be able to kill his towers off fast enough, and even if you do manage to get through him, he's just going to have so much gold stored up, he's going to build a lot of crap, and he's going to beat you with it, and he's probably going to take the expansion back. On a larger map, I wish this game had been on a larger map, because it's actually a little bit easier to deal with the strategy on Echo Isles than it is somewhere like Lost Temple or Knollwood, or even like Twisted Meadows or something. It's very, very important that you do everything in your power to keep your human opponent from getting a third base up. You're not going to be able to beat him you're not going to be able to stop him from getting his initial expansion. But if he gets a second expansion and tires the crap out of that, you're basically going to have to play the game where you try to mine the map out. And that takes forever, it sucks, and your chances of winning are not terribly good. Let's see, I have to town portal here, basically because he's got a whole lot of tanks. My opponent decides to town portal out once I do hop in on top of him. Probably a good idea, because I would have wiped out all his heroes, and I don't think he could have done too substantial of damage to my base. You know, I mean, he would have taken down a good bit of stuff, but I would have killed most of his things, and I'm almost through the towers at his expansion. Or actually, he doesn't have any income anymore. He basically mined everything out. And this is what happens if you are, like on a larger map, if you're able to keep your human opponent from expanding anymore. Up in my base, you'll kind of see the nice effectiveness of building all those extra necropolises. He's gonna actually, I think, try and just take down the necropolises rather than attempt to find the buildings that I really care about, which in this case would probably really just be my shop and my altar. But basically, he ended up getting stopped by that in the front, and my meat wagons and the rest of my army that was coming up from the south was able to take those out. So, yeah, meat wagons are really best used on the defensive. If I can avoid it, I really don't like trying to push with meat wagons. It's really too easy, you know, especially if your opponent has, like, say, a level 3 Paladin. He can just pop Divine Shield on the thing and go harass the tanks. Or if he's got, like, one Griffin, you know, he can basically kill the things off. One of the many uses for Frostworms, of course, is that you can get hero kills. That's one of the things that contributed to me winning this game, was those 2 hero kills right there. Overall, they are very good in this strategy. I think that I did tag one meat wagon along with me just for situations like this where I'm fighting in the middle of the map. Watch the health on those Frostworms. They will eventually die from the tanks. Not very quickly, it takes quite a while, and that's one of the reasons that they're a little bit better than destroyers, is that they've got, you know, a good bit more hit points, plus, you know, for every, like, 2 destroyers that you have, or for every 3 destroyers you have, you'd have maybe, like, 2 Frostworms. So, anyway, he gave up at that point, basically just because he was mined out. So that's hopefully contains some tips in there for various weapons that you can use against human mass towers, because it's really not something that you can hard counter, but the Frostworms and the Panda and just a good defensive structure in your base to deal with the tanks can make that strategy a lot less problematic. Okay, so that is the last one. I'm planning on putting quite a bit of music into these, and I'm still going to be kind of sticking around the WCR forums. So for one thing, like, if any of you guys are interested in becoming the next great undead commentator, I highly encourage you to, like, submit stuff to the member audio commentaries, and also if you really do want to be audio staff, like, go ahead and, like, you know, nothing's stopping you from PMing one of the mods here, like Blue Dot. You know, don't harass them or anything, but if you really think you've got it, say, you know, send them a PM, say, hey, you know, I think I really understand the strategies pretty well. I've done these few member audios. I think I've got good stuff, and I'd like you to take a look at it. If you want some tips on doing audio, either for just how to look at the game, or how, like, you know, what kind of recording software to use, things like that, I'd really be happy to help you out with it. Just send me a PM on the boards. I usually respond to those within a day or so, because I check it pretty regularly. I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. I hope you guys have enjoyed all my audios. I had a lot of fun making them, and I'm not, like, disgruntled or frustrated or anything like that. I just kind of want to do other things for a while. So I'll miss y'all. Hope you miss me. This is Fray, signing out for the last time.